Hello, my name is Timothy Barr. I am a graduate student in the Master of Social Sciences program at Ohio University. As part of my Anthropology of the Arts course, I completed an ethnographic study of Neil Simon's The Odd Couple female version at Hagerstown Community College. Neil Simon wrote The Odd Couple play in the 1960s, with male leads Oscar and Felix. However, with the rise of the feminist movement in the 1980s, Neil Simon decided to alter the production and create a gender-reversed version of The Odd Couple, with lead characters Olive and Florence instead. This is the version that was performed at Hagerstown Community College for my project.
Oh.
My research was influenced by Irving Goffman's article, Performances. This article provided me with further content knowledge of how actors become characters, as well as a deeper understanding of the relationships between an audience, actors, and a play. I conducted my research for this study through observing rehearsals at Hagerstown Community College, as well as conducting interviews with the director, the costume designer, as well as several actresses involved in the production. I had 3 primary research goals for my ethnographic study. The first included how the background influences of those involved in the production affected the staging of The Odd Couple. My second research goal included a contextual comparison between a play written for New York City and a Hagerstown, Maryland audience. My final research goal was a thematic comparison between 1980s feminist America and 2015 America. To address my research goal regarding background influences, I asked the participants, why did they become involved in this production of The Odd Couple?
Dave Dahl, adjunct faculty, the Humanities Theater Department, director of Neil Simon's The Odd Couple female versions. This is actually a second job for me. I started off, my primary job is working television production, video production. Been doing that almost 25 years. Been doing this 23, 24 years. I can't remember. But I actually got started in theater first before I was interested in video production. Started back in high school. Was set designer at Smithsburg High in '85 and '86. Then I came here. Majored in communications, and then stuck in the theater department here, and went to Salisbury when I graduated from here, and remained in the theater. Actually worked in the theater as a paying job as a student at Salisbury.
Hi, I'm Robin Shaner. I'm the costume designer at the Hagerstown Community College. I had a really good friend of mine, his name was JP, who convinced me to try theater while I attended school here a few years ago. And I seemed to really like it. I'd already knew how to sew, and but that led me to really look into the performing arts more.
I'm Rachel Wiles.
And who are you playing in the show?
I'm playing Mickey the Cop. I wanted to take part in the show because I've never done a play before. I've always done musicals, and I thought it would be a good way to expand my horizons in theater. I started doing chorus in 4th grade, and then I did show choir in middle school, and then in high school they sort of sucked me into doing musicals, and I had to learn to change my sound completely because I was classically trained.
Mm.
So then I got to college, and it just became more of a way for me to express my love for singing, because that's how I started out.
Lee?
I am Charlemagne McNeil, and I am playing Sylvie in The Odd Couple, directed by Dave Dahl. Growing up, I was very into all sorts of the performing arts, of just whatever. My dad's a musician, so I kind of grew up with the singing around, and my mom reading stories to us she was very animated about it, did the funny voices, and often would change her body position depending on who she was reading for. And I always loved it. And then in high school, I kind of decided that maybe theater wasn't very practical. So I started thinking about special ed and when I started at HCC about 3 years ago, that's where I had started from, and just could not be happy with where the education system was for me. I knew that it wasn't for me. And last summer, when we did Much Ado About Nothing here, I saw the auditions for it and I thought, I need to do something fun. I'm just going to go and audition, and pretty much begged on my hands and knees to Dave I'll do anything in the show, I just want to be a part. And kind of through that experience, realized how much I love being on stage.
As Raymond Williams states in his article, Culture, the background influences of an individual impacts their future behaviors. Therefore, it comes as no surprise that all of the participants in my study had previous experiences in the performing arts. To address my second research goal, I interviewed the participants in my study regarding the prevalence of The Odd Couple to a Hagerstown audience, as well as why Neil Simon made the choices he did for his show.
Dave is always telling us how Neil Simon writes these very big characters, and they're just a little bit surreal and not as realistic. And I think that Sylvie in this show is one of the more realistic characters. She's a big character, but at the same time there's a lot of truth to who she is. She has a lot of the grounding force in this friendship with all these women. I think that there's a lot of the present day in this show, in just that this is a story about friendship and the problems you have within friendship. All the different types of characters you have in a friendship. You have people like Sylvie. You have people like Florence, who's the goody two-shoes, and that on the one hand annoys everyone to death, but in the beginning of the show, everyone is comparing Paola's character, Olive, to Florence because Olive's place is messy and she doesn't have good food. So they rely on that side of the friendship, the good part, so to say. So I think you see that, the struggles in relationships of people trying to get along, and I mean that's, I think, one of our hugest issues today is we can't seem to get along with each other anymore. So I think a lot of this show is recognizing those differences and learning to, like Olive has the line, I can't remember the beginning of it, but it's something about she's really frustrated and it's nobody's fault, we're just a rotten pair, and being able to come to that conclusion that we may not really get along very well, but we can accept that, and I think because of that we have a stronger relationship. So I think that is very relevant to today.
And it's a really good show, and it was well received when I did it in the early 90s with Goretti. The comedy is nice and broad, and even though some of it's 80s-ish comedy, it's still timeless. So that was kind of what I was looking for anyway. Originally, with looking for a show, was trying to get something that's a broad general appeal to this area.
I think that Mickey, at least in the group of friends, is sort of one of those who gives comic relief, but she's the friend who is there to care about everybody. She's the only person who really realizes that Florence is missing, or that she's not there. Everybody else just sort of keeps going with the game. My study of Neil Simon was pretty interesting. It made me form Mickey into being the snarky friend. And like the more I was looking into the way he wrote her in, I think she's one of the characters that really thinks about like what's happening. Like she wholeheartedly calls Florence out for basically jumping from house to house, and she's quick to tell it how it is. And I think that the way Neil Simon wrote the play really helped to form Mickey as a character. I think it would appeal to an audience in Hagerstown, I think it could appeal to really any audience. It's a play that, like, even in my group of friends, I see how, like, each person in this show and each person in a regular group of friends has a part. Like, my character is very quick to, you know, structure, but she's also quick to be the first one to be there to care for everyone and make sure everybody's okay. And then Sylvie is just straight out mean, and she does what she does. And, you know, Florence is overly dramatic, and the rest of them too. You know, they all play their part in the structure of a group of friends. So yeah, I think it's appealing to any audience.
I think some of the parents that may have come or may be coming, or aunts, uncles, grandparents, they may relate to it because it is in the 80s, so you're going to have some of that generation coming to see the show. So I think they're going to say, oh, I remember that. So I think they're going to brings back memories with them. And I think the Odd Couple itself can be very realistic. You know, you have friends and opposites attract. You know, friends, or if you're partners, and it's pretty real life. You know, you have these situations that happen, and it's how you deal with them. And in the end, you know, hopefully everybody is happy.
In regards to audiences, Karen Barber's article, Preliminary Notes on Audiences in Africa, reveals that audiences are not the same, instead being composed of various social, cultural, and regional differences.